Hi, I just wanted to talk about some of the experiments that I've been doing. I kind of take a few risks with these. So, yeah, it's been really interesting. This morning, I tried to do some exercise, and exercise is a huge seizure trigger for me, as I have what is termed as reflex epilepsy from the brain hemorrhage that I had. We don't know if it's the brain hemorrhage or from the tumor or a combination of both or the treatment I had. It's probably all those things put into one, but particularly with the brain hemorrhage and any kind of brain trauma, reflex epilepsy is not an uncommon experience. So if you put in what is reflex epilepsy or a definition of reflex epilepsy into Google, what you'll come up with is quite an apt definition, I would say. Definitely appropriate for my experiences of reflex epilepsy, as I have countless external triggers that can manifest in very serious life-threatening seizures if I'm not careful. So they would define reflex epilepsy as being a condition in which seizures can be provoked habitually by an external stimulus. So habitually, so anytime you experience this stimuli, you can be at risk of having any kind of seizure. So there's so many different types of epilepsy, but with depending on which part of the brain. But yeah, in my case, it would be affecting my speech and movement. So exercise is always a funny thing to experiment with. Yeah, so again, just it's saying, I'm reading the definition now, it's condition in which seizures can be provoked habitually by an external stimulus or, less commonly, internal mental processes. So I'm not quite sure what that last bit means. I'm guessing it's mental state, stress. These are triggers for me as well, so great. Yeah, I'm well aware of that. One of the ways that I try to deal with this is my replacement medication, which I often use as emergency medication in some cases. I have my magnesium chloride mixed with water. I also filtered water, and I have my exogenous ketones, so I use KetoForce, and I'm currently experimenting with KetoOS. So it's a powdered form of exogenous ketones. So it's got beta hydroxybutyrate in there, which is the ketone body that you test for in the blood. So when that is elevated to the therapeutic level for me, which is, it's usually the level that gives me the best control is 4 and above millimolars, which I measure with my snazzy glucometer, and it measures blood ketones as well. I also have a ketonics, which is a measure of testing ketones in the breath. Usually that would be acetate, I would think, but it's supposedly a good measure of a good measure compared to the beta hydroxybutyrate measures. They usually correlate quite nicely. So I don't know if I've had that completely correct as I've explained it, but yeah, that'll do, I guess. Earlier I was trying to do some exercise through help of my friend, some exogenous ketones, which I usually use to attempt exercise. I've tried it on several occasions. As I've explained, exercise is a major seizure trigger for me. So that's also explained. That also helps to explain why I have a towel over my door, because that's what I use to do pull-ups. I find it really useful. Just helps my grip. And yeah, even if I try and do a few pull-ups, I experience my usual feelings of seizure activity as my brain is more stimulated and my blood glucose starts to go up. So I have to use very low reps and try and be very concentrated with my mind-muscle connection. I have an idea that might help me to allow my, let's call them deficiencies in that connection, that neuromuscular connection between that damaged area of my brain and the neuromuscular connection, the activity. So yeah, there's something called brain. I'm gonna look it up now because I can't remember what it's called. Brain. It's when you exercise, it's strengthening that connection between the muscles and the brain. So if I try to, for example, flex my left bicep, which is kind of strange because it's usually my left side, which is where the problem is, usually affects my right side, particularly the right side of my face and my neck, where I get dysphagia. And if I flex my left bicep, which is kind of going completely against that idea, I experience tingling and numbness around my lips, and happens every time. So that would be very interesting. So to see if strengthening that connection can improve that functioning, the cognitive functioning, and also just the whole shebang, the whole thing. So yeah, that's BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. So it's a protein that I'm reading it now. It's a protein that in humans is encoded by the BDNF gene. BDNF is a member of the neurotrophin family, or neurotropin. Yeah, that's how some people pronounce it, I guess. It's probably how you're supposed to pronounce it. Neurotropin family of growth factors, which are related to the canonical, I never know how to pronounce these things, nerve growth factor. So yeah, exercise can affect that quite significantly. There have been a few studies that I've seen over time to do with that. Usually people just think about exercising the brain by playing Sudoku and stuff like that, which is great. But exercise can be very useful as well. I get immense frustration trying to exercise because I used to be a personal trainer and I was very into being active all the time. I also know that improved fitness can help to increase seizure threshold, so it's a difficult balance for me trying to maintain a good fitness level and controlling the epilepsy, because as I say, it's a seizure trigger. So I have to be very careful in how I exercise and my timing of nutrients, my rest periods, and exercise can lower my seizure threshold later on in the day. So yeah, I have to, I'm constantly trying to improve that. Another thing I'm experimenting with is mushrooms, different mushroom extracts. I know it's not zero carb, but I'm not a proponent of food religion, so I don't have orthorexic tendencies where I have to eat zero carb all the time. I've been experimenting a lot in the past few weeks in particular with adding more coconut oil, which I seem to be tolerating much better than I used to be, as I had salicylate intolerance from the brain injury I had. As I've healed, it seems to be improving, which is quite encouraging. So I've been experimenting today with shiitake mushrooms as my kind of introduction to magic mushrooms, I guess. No, they're all magic if you think about it, not in a crazy psychoactive way, but yeah, I've been doing a lot of research into that, and I'll put something in the description section on what I've been researching into the mushrooms, because there's so many different types, and in Chinese medicine it's huge. So that's something I want to look into a lot more, and I will try to keep people updated with my experiments with the exogenous ketones. I'm also looking closely at chronotherapy, so it's not just about your the timing of, it's about the timing of a lot of things, usually termed as the timing of certain drugs. I'll try and get an actual definition here. Yeah, this video is kind of off the cuff. I just thought, oh, I'll make a video. Definition of chronotherapy. So I'm trying to do this looking at how to make curcumin more effective. I think I did a post a while ago on my blog about curcumin and how it can help you to better manage your circadian rhythms, which was really interesting to me. And the timing of implementing the drug, of administering the drug to yourself, not drug, but yeah, anything can be termed as a drug, but depending on the dose and how you use it, and what it is, I guess. Well, that wouldn't be anything, but then you know what I mean. So yeah, chronotherapy, the treatment of an illness or disorder by administering a drug at a time of day believed to be in harmony with the body's natural rhythms. Okay. So yeah, I'm experimenting with using curcumin with its bioactive compound, bioperine, yeah, essentially black pepper extract, and experimenting with using that with ketoforce, or any exogenous ketones that are available. There are many others available on the market, as they would say on TV. I'm not trying to push anything, but I find that very effective for me. So yeah, I will continue to experiment and use myself as a reluctant guinea pig. So yeah, that's me for today, and I just wanted to also, just before I finish, just say what it's like to have reflex epilepsy. it's a struggle every day to manage, and I manage it by very, very close monitoring through diaries and day-to-day monitoring of everything that works and everything that doesn't. Because one of the things with reflex epilepsy, particularly of the temporal lobe, which is the area that's affected for me, it's the temporal and frontal lobe actually, so kind of in between, speech and movement area, is that you experience an aura. So when I experience an aura, it can be quite terrifying, but there are stages. So I try to get it before it gets to the very serious stage. So it usually starts with, I had one earlier when I was trying to do my pull-ups up there. It usually starts with paralysis down, it's like kind of, paralysis and facial paresthesia. So a numbness and tingling down the right side of my face. And then that progresses if I let it progress, if I don't take any action to try and resolve this. That progresses with slurred and disturbed speech. So as I mentioned earlier, I experienced dysphasia with that. And dysphasia is, I'll just look it up, it's to do with disruption of your speech and the inability to, actually, that's not what it is. I was thinking about something else. Dysphasia is difficulty in discomfort or discomfort in swallowing. So that can be from a number of factors, but for me, that is a there's another word for what I'm trying to think about. It's quite frustrating. I was confusing dysphasia with dysphagia. Easy mistake. So I do get both of those actually, and they're related. So it's kind of nice actually. Nice to be able to describe. Not nice at all. It's quite disturbing actually. So yeah, I experienced dysphasia and dysphagia. Which dysphasia is a language disorder marked by deficiency in the generation of speech. So when this happens, I am unable to, I'm usually unable to either form words, or I'm unable to comprehend words, or, well, usually to define it in simple terms, I'm either able to think of the word and not say it, not sound it out, or I'm not able to think of the word, but I'm able to generate speech. So you can imagine when it gets to that stage, it's quite terrifying. Usually the longest I'll leave it as an emergency is when it spreads to my right hand. So it usually starts with numbness and tingling, usually around there. And this eye closes up, and I experience pins and needles sensation down that side, and in my throat. My heart rate goes up quite quickly. I get dizzy, and I have just bizarre sensations. Sometimes I feel like I'm floating. Sometimes I feel like I'm on a bus or a boat. just where I just feel kind of wonky and dizzy. And it's just, I sometimes feel nauseous as well. So it's really not a nice feeling. And as I say, it's something that I have to manage day to day. When my blood ketones are in my perfect range, I don't have any symptoms, or very, very little. It's very rare that I don't have any at all. And when I see people running or doing exercise, I get very jealous. But then I just think there are people with my condition who can't even walk sometimes, and I'm very fortunate in that respect. Also, when I think about how I used to be, when, after my brain hemorrhage, I was struggling just to sit up in bed. So I should be really thankful. And I can do some exercise. I just have to play around with it a bit more, which I have done to some success in the past, but a routine is very difficult to adhere to for a number of reasons. So I'll let you know how I get on with that, and I have a scan in a few weeks. Yeah, I've got a scan on the 4th of May, so that should be interesting. I don't know how I feel about it this time, because I've done so many experiments, particularly recently, just with different periods of fasting, chronotherapy, different times of taking certain supplements and food and combinations of things. Exercise as well. If I think that exercise is seizure trigger, is exercise actually doing me any good, and am I choosing the right type of exercise? Because if it's elevating blood glucose, and which I try not to have it go up too much as I exercise, that's why I do low repetitions, but if it's doing that, and if I'm using up my blood ketones, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Am I overstimulating my brain? Is the glucose going to the astrocytes in my brain? I had an astrocytoma, so lots of questions there. Are the exogenous ketones mitigating some of those potential risks of exercise? There's so many questions that I don't think we actually know of, that we actually know about. I'm just thinking about in the dogs with the Keto Pet Sanctuary. They've had success with they have to be strict ketogenic diets, because dogs aren't going to drive themselves to McDonald's, so their compliance is much better than humans. So as my ketogenic diet is very strict, as I'm a bit crazy, and my compliance is adequate, I would say, not perfect, but adequate, it would just make sense that the dogs are running around all the time, and they seem to do fairly well. They do have hyperbaric oxygen therapy more regularly than I do. Another thing that I'm looking at is testing. So I'm finally having my gut microbiome tested. I've been taking spirulina and a few other things recently to see if that helps at all, just as experimentation. I probably shouldn't do all these experiments all at once, because you can never really derive what's the actual benefit, but there's so much evidence saying that combination of approaches can have a symbiotic benefit, where those things together can actually improve efficacy of whatever you're doing. So It's kind of following a less druggy, less druggy aspect of less druggy regime. Or I don't like the word regime, but a less druggy approach than the Ben Williams approach, where you're trying lots of different natural things. So yeah, well, I wouldn't rule out drugs in the future, but not for now. So I think what I'm doing is, as I say, adequate. I don't know if it's perfect. You can never be perfect. So yeah, I've droned on for too long. So busy day with exams, and I'm helping out at the London Marathon on Sunday for brain tumor research. So that would be great. And they fully support the metabolic theory and approach to cancer management. So really happy to be helping them. And yeah, I'll let you know how everything goes with everything I'm doing. And what's left for me is to say goodbye and see you soon.